Hey guys, my name's Aaron. Welcome to my first Commander Deck Tech. I'm here to talk about Blanka, Ferocious Friend, one of my favorite cards from the new Secret Lair. And I went ahead and built a Commander deck around him, and it's a lot of fun. It goes pretty fast, requires a little bit of piloting, but it's kind of mostly brain dead. But we'll take a look here at what I chose. So first we're going to look at Blanka here, Blanka Ferocious Friend is a legendary creature, a human beast warrior, so learning that Blanka was a human was new to me, but oh well. Haste, a rolling attack, so when Blanka Ferocious Friend has trample, as long as you cast 3 or more spells this turn, and whenever Blanka becomes the target of a spell, he gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and he deals 2 damage to each opponent. So that particularly right there, that's exactly what I focused in on. Instead of the storm aspect, I decided to focus in on targeting Blanka, making him as big as possible, and swinging in as hard as I can. So let's go ahead and go through the cards. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just get the lands out of here, because the lands bring me no joy. One interesting thing is just all the basics are snow covered, literally just for one card to turn on Blizzard Brawl. Let's get some maintenance out of the way first. So the first card we have up here is Soul Ring. You guys know what that card is. So I have Elvish, Mystic, and Finehorn Elves. I put Mana Dorks in here. I'm usually against them because they die to board wipes, and you know I'm not trying to turbo it out real quick. But the 1 mana helps to hit that 3 mana requirement. The 3 spell requirement for Blanka. So having a 1 mana drop, and it can, you know, something to do on turn 1. I love my 2 mana ramp. We have 3 visits: Sacred Tribe Elder, Arcane Signet, and we have Goblin Arnak. I don't know how to pronounce this guy, but each spell you cast each spell you cast that's red or green costs 1 less to cast. So I think the highest instant that targets in this deck is mana value 3, so it reduces that to 2, but like it literally takes everything else down to 1. So that helps with getting multiple spells out. We have Cultivate, we have Nature's Lore, we have Kodama's Reach, Farseek. You've seen all these. So the next thing I have is Interaction that isn't synergy. So it's not a lot. And I know some people are like, run more interaction. There's really not that much interaction in this deck that isn't fight spells, but this one specifically, this is just, you know, you gotta turn off some of the nasty stuff. You gotta kill the Urborg, you gotta target all the other stuff. So first I have Deflecting Swat. You gotta protect your commander. This is a deck that wants its commander out as fast as possible, and you gotta be able to protect him. Deflecting Swat is a good one. Chaos Warp, we know what this does. Targets any permanent, so anything that needs to go away, doesn't destroy, gets rid of Avacins, gets rid of indestructible things. Beast Within, any permanent, also just gets rid of anything. These are just cards you need to run because you have got to stop stuff. So next up we have is, I'm just going to kind of say this is card advantage. So Valakut Awakening is just a card that can, you know, you can put away whatever you don't need if you got a lot of lands late in the game, or you can just play it as a land early in the game. It's a card that doesn't particularly hurt to have. Jessica's Will is a banger of a card. It gets you 2 cards if you cast it when your commander's out, which would be preferable in this kind of deck. Then you get the cards and you get a ton of mana, and it can really enable an insanely explosive turn. So Hunter's Prowess is one of our draw cards. Until end of turn, target creature gets +3/+3, gains trample, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw that many cards. So when you target Blanka with this, he's going to already become a 10/10. He's going to get 3 from this card and 2 from his ability of becoming the target of his spell, and then he automatically has trample. You don't have to fill the requirements for his own 3 spells or more, and you're probably going to get cards off of this, or you're probably going to get 2 for 1, but either or. Soul's Majesty, draw cards equal to the power of target creature you control. If your target creature is Blanka, this is a 5 mana draw 7 spell, so it might do nothing most turns, but if you're targeting something like Blanka and you're getting at least 7 cards, like that'll set you up for next turn. I think it's pretty good. So we have Max the Daredevil. Haste. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, untap target creature, then investigate. So this gives Blanka pseudo-vigilance. This gives you a clue token that you can use to crack, and you can kind of repeat this every turn. And the with this deck, you want to be casting more than one, so it's pretty easy to hit the requirements for this, and it seems pretty synergistic, and it is a human. Snake Umbra, enchant creature. Whenever creature gets +1/+1, enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has, whenever this creature deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. So there's some particular wording with Snake Umbra. Whenever this creature deals damage to an opponent, so it's not combat damage. So if you target Blanka and with a spell and it's equipped with this, and you do that 2 damage to the other 3 players, you draw 3 cards, and that's insane. We have Season of Growth. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. That's almost a nothing in this deck, because what you want is when you cast a spell that targets a creature card, you draw a card. It turns all your spells into cantrips. Anything that targets Blanka gets you an additional card. One of the best cards. One of the best cards in this deck. Keen Sense. This is a color shifted curiosity. Enchant creature. When an enchanted creature deals combat damage to an opponent, deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. Same thing as Snake Umbra. This is a 1-mana Snake Umbra, significantly better. Also one of the best cards in this deck. You target Blanka, you hit the other 3 people, you draw 3 cards, and then you can just keep doing it for how much mana you have. There's some possible really big turns with other cards that enable this. We'll get to that later. Escape to the Wild. So I consider this a card advantage. It also ramps you. It gives you 5 cards in exile. It lets you play an additional land. It sets you up for a pretty big turn. I feel like any card that's Gruul would, or any deck that's Gruul would probably want to run this card. So Snakeskin Veil. This is one of the first of the targeting spells. So put a 1/1 counter on target creature. It gains hexproof until end of turn. So you make Blanka bigger. You protect them from spells. And this is almost, if someone's playing like a Swords Plowshare or something like that, this is almost a full-blown counter spell in that regard. It's pretty good. I like cards like this. There's a couple of those in there. You got to protect your commander. Two-handed axe, so it's an equipment, but it's also an instant. Target creature you control gains double strike until end of turn. That's Teamer Battle Rage attached to a free weapon. I really like Teamer Battle Rage. This is a better Teamer Battle Rage. Whenever equipped creature attacks, double its power until end of turn, so you can just throw it onto a creature, or you can throw it onto Blanka and swing in for big. Giant Growth, probably not the best card in this, but the first card I thought about when building this kind of deck, which is just Giant Growth, make them big, that's it. Inscription of Abundance, it's a fight spell. You put counters, you gain life. It does a lot of things. It has a lot of really high-end stuff that it can do in this deck. Just specifically, like if Blanka's massive and you do the kicker cost and you gain 20 life or whatever, it's very easy for Blanka to get absolutely massive on some really big turns, and this is a pretty good enabler. It fights a thing. Tamiyo's Safekeeping. Target permanent you control gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, and you gain 2 life, and you get to make a creature hexproof. That stops it from being targeted by Path to Exile, Swords of Plowshares, anything like that. Single target removal spells, single target removal abilities. It also gets you indestructible, so if someone drops like a Wrath of God or something like that, you can absolutely survive that. And just synergy with your commander. Ranger's Gal, kind of a worse version of Tamiyo's Safekeeping and Snakeskin Veil, but still adjacent enough that I accept it. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains hexproof until end of turn. Prize Fight, a new card from New Capenna. Target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. Targets Blanka, activates his abilities, and you get to create a treasure token, so it kind of ramps you, sort of. Mutagenic Growth, so this costs 1 Phyrexian green mana, so you could pay 1 green or you could just pay 2 life and it's free, and in Commander you have 40 life, so that's pretty easy. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. This is a fun card because people do not see it coming. Vastwood Fortification, you put a 1/1 counter on target creature, or you could play it as a land. I really like the MDFC cards, but a lot of them are in this deck, and a lot of them do really good things specifically for this commander. Ram Through, one of my favorite cards. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control, and if the creature you control has trample, excess damage is dealt to that creature's controller instead. So you can absolutely kill someone on the stack with this, because if your creature has trample and it's massive, and you play Ram Through and you target it, you can just deal whatever 20 damage or whatever to a 1/1 token, and they have to take the 19 damage, then they have to resolve combat after that. Very good card. Primal Might, target creature you control gets +X/+X until end of turn, then it fights up to one target creature you don't control. So on the bottom end, you can just pay this for X is equal to 0 and just 1 mana fight a thing, and you'll probably be able to kill most things. Or you can pump it to as big as you need to be to finish someone off or to kill something very specific. Blizzard Brawl, the reason that there's nothing but snow in this deck. Chose pet card from standard for me also. Choose target creature you control and target creature you don't control, and if you control 3 or more snow permanents, the creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains indestructible until end of turn. Those creatures fight each other, so a lot of those fight spells. Seize the Day, I should replace it with the Secret Lair version of that. That's called Round 2, and I have one. Untap target creature. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase. So you get another combat, then you get another main phase, and it also targets. So when you do this and you target something like Blanka, you make them bigger. And this can absolutely be a game ender, especially if you cast it twice, because then Blanka becomes a 7/7, then a 9/9, and who knows what else you did that turn, even if you're just casting this. Chandra's Ignition. Target creature you control deals combat damage equal to its power to each other creature and each other opponent. Targets. This is your board wipe. It targets your creature, deals that damage to everybody else, and if it's targeting Blanka, you're always going to have at least 7 damage unless his abilities are somehow turned off. So the next series we have are Cantrips. So this is Fist of Flame. Draw a card until end of turn. Target creature gains trample and gets +1/+0 for each card you draw on this turn. If you do it during your turn, then this is doing at least +2/+0. And if you're having a really good turn with Keen Sense or Snake Umbra or anything like that, this can absolutely end a match. Hunter's Insight. So choose target creature you control. Whenever that target creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, this turn, draw that many cards. So this is just getting cards in your hand. You can swing at someone, they declare no blockers, they're like, whatever, I'll take 5 damage or whatever. And then you just pump Blanka, makes him a 7/7, draw 7 cards. It might be hard to get through with this card, but it feels like a good card in this deck. I abide by it. Irresistible Prey. So target creature must be blocked this turn. If able, draw a card. That's it. It's a sorcery. Target your creature. There's a specific creature in mind, that's Blanka, and then draw a card. Poison the Blade. Target creature gets Death Touch until end of turn. Targets, draws you a card. Also gives a Death Touch. You can make the combat stat weird if you want. That's always fun for me. Viridian Wisps. Target creature becomes green and gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Draw a card. So again, we're targeting, we're drawing cards. He's getting +2/+2 from his own ability, +1/+0. Then you get a card. It's almost free. Expedite. Target creature gains haste until end of turn. Draw cards. The funny thing about both these cards is that like Blanka is already green and already has haste and does not need to gain those things. But we want to target. We want to draw a card. Charge Through. Target creature gains trample until end of turn. Draw a card. Psychotic Fury. Target multicolored creature gains double strike until end of turn and draw a card. So literally the only valid target in your deck is Blanka and Max the Daredevil, and you're probably not going to be attacking with Max. So obviously this main thing is to attack Blanka, but a fun thing about this card is target multicolored creature, so it doesn't have to be your creature. You don't have to control it. So if someone's swinging with their commander at somebody else, and most commanders tend to be multicolored, and you want to just blank that person and they're like, oh, no blocks, you're like, well, guess what, you die. That's a fun thing. I haven't done that yet, but there's a lot of opportunities. Someone's swinging with a Zakama and I'm like, wait, I want you to die right now. Crimson Wisp. Target creature becomes red and gains haste until end of turn. So the color shifted. Viridian Wisp does the same thing. Blanka also already red. So now we have creatures that care about what we're doing. So I'm not gonna I don't like making decks with no creatures. I want to have some creatures in there. So we had a couple creatures in there already, but this is specifically creatures that care about what we're doing to set our engine up. So Gutter Snipe. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Gutter Snipe deals 2 damage to each opponent. That's 100% what Blanka is already doing. So that's effectively doubling the damage we're doing whenever we cast a instant or a spell. So we're targeting Blanka, and now we're doing 4 damage. Kessick Flamebreak Breather. Sorry, I can't read. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, he deals 1 damage to each opponent, so kind of the same thing. So this is the same effect. You're doing 1 more damage for everything you're casting, and so it makes those big turns even bigger. Stormclin Artist, so he gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control, but that doesn't really matter. We're here for whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, create a treasure token. So you're getting treasure back. That's enabling you have the big turns. If you have like a Viridian Wisp and you target and then you draw a card and that card's free, or if you have Keen Sense attached to Blanka, then you can almost churn through your entire deck if you play things outright. Absolutely amazing card in this deck. Young Pyromancer, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 red elemental creature token. So I believe this is the only creature token generation in this deck, but it gives you blockers. I'm not mad at having a lot of them. If you got to swing with or block with the elemental creature tokens, there's not a lot of synergy with them, but you're getting free creatures, and that always helps. Dragon's Guard Elite. So whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, put a 1/1 counter on Dragon's Guard Elite, and then for 6 mana you can double the amount of counters. She cares about what Blanka does, so this is what I like to call a backup commander. So you have someone that wants the same thing that your commanders want. It's getting real big. If they answer your commander and you can't really cast them, and it's like 7-9 mana to cast your guy, but this lady was over there just getting real big the whole time, then you got something to do. So Torbrand, one of my favorite cards in this deck. If a red source you would control deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage +2. So again, doubling the shock that you get when targeting Blanka. And if you have Torbrand set up with Gutter Snipe, set up with Kessick Flame Breather, and they're all just doubling their damage, the people are going to die very fast. This is a game ender. So one of the problems with Blanka is that it kind of can hit one person really hard, and in the game of Commander, when one person gets hit really hard, everyone's like, oh, well, we gotta clap back on this person immediately, right? Because, and it kind of sucks when it's like, one person's at 35, one person's at 33, and then the other dude's at like 12, and they definitely want the person who made that imbalance dead. But Kedis Emberclaw Familiar is a card to solve that problem. When a commander you control deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. So what that does is it spreads the damage out. You don't got to worry about hitting one person. Hit whoever's open, maximize your damage, and spread that damage everywhere. Krark the Thumbless is one of the best cards in this deck. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you flip a coin. If you lose the flip, return that spell to its owner's hand. If you win the flip, copy that spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy. So whether you win or lose the coin flip, you are coming out ahead on this card, because if you win the coin flip and you're targeting Blanka, then that's another spell that you copy that also can target Blanka, and you get 2 of those. And especially if it's like a Viridian Wisp or something like that, that's a cantrip, then you're drawing 2 cards. And if you lose the coin flip, then the spell goes back into your hand, then you could just cast it again, and you can do that till you win the coin flip. And so if you have something like a Snakeskin Veil and you target Blanka, you shock everybody with his ability, you lose the coin flip, you put it back in your hand, you cast it again, you lose the coin flip, you put it back in, you cast it, you win the coin flip, you hit 2. There's no downside to this card. It's actually very good. So this is a pet card. If my commander is green and is a human, Kogla, the big old monkey, is going to be in this deck because he's funny to me. When Kogla, the Titan Ape, enters the battlefield, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. When Kogla attacks, destroy target artifact or enchantment defending player controls. And it has 1 in a green. You can return target human you control to its owner's hand. Kogla gains indestructible until end of turn, so you can help your commander survive board wipes. You can help him you can just fight something that's annoying on the board. There's a blood artist you need to kill or something like that, and you don't have fights. A removal, Kogla could come in. If you untap a Kogla, you can just turn him sideways, and it's an attack trigger, so all you have to do is attack at somebody to blow up whatever problematic artifact is. I love this card so much. Any deck with green and human in it will get one. Temur Sabertooth, which is probably a leaner, better version of Kogla. You may just return target creature you control to its owner's hand, and if you do, Temur Sabertooth gains indestructible until end of turn. So One thing to pivot on with the two of these is that he returns target human, this returns any creature. But one thing that's good about Kogla specifically is that I have Eternal Witness, and I have Timeless Witness in here, and some other good human targets that you can bring back to your hand to recur stuff, and we're going to get into that in a moment. There's a lot of recursion in here, because when you have like cantrips and stuff like that, and you cast them and they go to your graveyard, you kind of run out of stuff to do if you dump all 4 spells in your hand in one turn and you don't kill anyone and you're top decking. So we have a lot of graveyard recursion in here. So we're going to start with Timeless Witness. When it enters the battlefield, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Just get a card back. This makes it easy to hit the 3 spell requirement, because you could just cast Timeless Witness, get a card back, put it in your hand, cast it again, then maybe cast something else that you have. Skullwinder, which is an Eternal Witness effect. When it enters the battlefield, return target card from your graveyard, then choose an opponent. They return a card from their graveyard to their hand. So you're giving somebody a card back. And I know a lot of people don't like this because they're like, I don't like to give my opponents anything. But you can make an educated decision on how to best utilize the downside of Skullwinder. Skullwinder is a decent body, 1/3 Death Touch. I've seen a lot of people with the biggest creatures on the planet hesitate because I have something dumb with Death Touch on the board. So it's a good deterrent, in my experience. You get a card back. You get to give somebody a card back. Invoke Calamity. You may cast up to 2 instant and sorcery spells from... let me see. Let me read that correctly this time. You may cast up to 2 instant and sorcery spells with total mana value 6 or less from your graveyard or hand without paying their mana cost. If those spells will be put into your graveyard, exile them. So mostly we care about getting stuff back from the graveyard. So you have cards in the graveyard. You could just cast this and then cast them again. And most of the instants and sorceries in this deck are 3 mana and less. Like maybe there's a very few, but those aren't what mostly we're going to be targeting anyway. Valid Recovery. So we care about getting stuff out of the graveyard. This can also be a land if you get it early, and if you get it later, then 3 mana, get something out of your hand. I really like the effect of just casting a spell, getting a cantrip or something back, casting it again. It does a lot of work for keeping you online. Regrowth, the king of this genre. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Eternal Witness. If that regrowth's the king, then Eternal Witness is the queen. When it enters the battlefield, you may return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Noxious Revival. So put target card from a graveyard on top of its opponent's library. So you can use this to hose over your opponents, but it's mostly here to get your own stuff back. But you know, it has situational use. Arcane Bombardment. I haven't tried this card out yet. It's a new one from New Capenna. Whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, exile an instant or sorcery card at random from your graveyard, then copy each card exiled with Arcane Bombardment. You may cast any number of the copies without paying their mana cost. So this is a way to... It seems like a really good late game play where you have a couple of things in your graveyard already, and then all of a sudden you're casting stuff from your graveyard, getting some stuff back, and then just getting a little extra mileage out of, having a low hand amount. Mizzix's Mastery. So this is a finisher in this deck. If it's late in the game and you got Blanka on the field and you got like 30 cards in your graveyard, just overload this and you get to cast them all for free. It is a doozy and it is a winning card. We got Underworld Breach. Our final finisher. Each non-land card in your graveyard has escape. The escape cost is equal to the card's mana cost plus exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. At the beginning of the end step, sacrifice Underworld Breach. I don't have like Dockside or any other combo enablers in here for this, so this card's kind of on the cutting board for me, but we'll see how it goes, right? And that's the deck. I have lands here, but as I started at the beginning, they bring me no joy. So if you want, the deck list is going to be in the comments to see what kind of lands I have. It's a pretty casual land base, but that is Blanka, Ferocious Friend. I have a blast with this deck. It's pretty consistent and it pops off pretty hard, and you're mostly going to be able to blank at least one person real hard with it, and that's always a small win in my book. But go on ahead and let me know what you guys think. If you guys had any cards that you would recommend, or a different way you could build them, or you think I'm an idiot, let me know in the comments. And like, comment, subscribe, all that. I hate peddling, and stuff like that. So y'all know what to do. You people are smart. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Y'all have a great day.